That works really well for them, so it's definitely something they are able to deal with.
Well, it's still up for now. Nidalee and Zed being the bans coming out here from Choke, and Corki locked away by Manalite. Corki, as we've seen, a very strong AD carry. Of course, didn't win when he was on the side of Manalite, but still did a very good job. Ari locked away from Luxie once more. So it's similar bans to those that we've seen throughout the entire tournament. The Zed away from Larson is a lot of respect. And then the Braum being locked away here is not surprising at all.
So it looks like Choke are somewhat sticking to their guns. They did ban Nidalee in the previous game. Yeah, they banned Nidalee, Braum, and Lulu themselves. And this time they're going to take away that Zed. So they want to try and deny that matchup away from Millennium. This suggests that Choke are working towards... Millennium, Manalite. This does suggest
it's not Merry Night.
This does suggest that Azir or Varus are going to be the priority for Choke in this matchup. I don't know if they're going to first pick it. I think it's super risky, but Lucian is actually going to be the priority. So they're looking to try and get Jokerism in a favorable matchup down at the bottom. But they've actually chosen Lucian over the Sivir.
To be fair, Jokerism had a really impressive performance on it.
I think he did a 4-0-10.
4-0, yeah, a 4-0 something double digits. It was pretty sick.
Choke banned that the first game. They banned Lucian.
I mean, they clearly think it's super strong if they're putting a lot of weight on it for their play and also to deny it.
So I think this would be pretty smart from Manalite. Because the Alistar has had a big impact in every single game so far. The flash pulverizers that have come out from both supports have been very impactful. The flank engages that you can set up are very reliable. I don't know if you need to prioritize the Sivir this early on, given that you can already see the AD carry picked up for Choke. And Manalite, they're actually going to go back to this Azir pick again, which, as you've already heard from me, I'm not a fan of.
I think I'm not a fan of it, especially just because of how it went, you know, last game for them specifically. It hasn't worked in general, but also it hasn't worked for them.
I think the thing about it is, though, because you know that Choke aren't going to pick up Sivir unless they're doing something very wacky, it means that you deny that Sivir counter, because Azir is very strong into a Sivir with the Empress Divide. You can lock her out of a fight pretty well. So I understand it. I'm not sure if it's the best pick, but you can see their reasoning behind it.
I mean, you can tell that what Manalite have done is they've read the Zed ban and they said, oh, okay, Choke want to value that Azir. So to a degree, that could have been a bit of a bait from Choke, but at the same time, it's Manalite basically saying, we really value this Azir. We had a bad game last game, but we can change that in this final game. We can have an impact.
Also be that they want to take Varus again and don't want Zed picked into that. They sort of second picked Varus last time. And they were expecting to be blind picking it this time if there wasn't an early rotation mid laner from Manalite. Manalite, what are they saving? They're saving top for last pick. So maybe they'll have an interesting pick coming out against the Trundle, but maybe not.
It doesn't have to be Trundle at this point. Of course, Trundle are flexed up until this last lock-in. I think
it's more likely to be support than, as I say that, actually, Zoko is a massive Janna player, and the disengage that you have against the Alistar can be very, very strong. But I'm expecting this last pick to be the Varus. That is just what I predict.
Yeah, I think Manalite have completely planned for Choke playing Varus, though. I think they expected all along. They've picked the Lee Sin.
Hey! Okay. I'm a Malzahar. Oh my word! Wow.
You're really strong.
I'm a Malzahar.
I'm a Malzahar. No, back when I used to play in the Null, Scoundrel used to love casting me because I would bring out the Malzahar, and it was one of my favorite picks back in the day. It's great. I love to consider it the anti-tank mage because he is so good at just shutting down a front line. You just drop.
And he has a Trundle as well.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be so good at killing that front line. So now Manalite have to be very select with what they go for the front line. But again, it's a very immobile mage that can suffer very heavily once your flash is down.
Yeah. You saw Rifty and quite concerned look on his face there on the screen. He was like, what do I do? They've got Trundle and they've got Malzahar. What am I going to do against that? Yasuo.
I mean,
no, Yasuo is an awful pick into this.
Let's win wall.
Manalite.
This suppress me through it. It's not gonna
I'll just dodge into the team, guys. Oh, wait.
Yeah, Manalite have a sort of a Civic comp with, there's the Rammus. With like just group and run at them, and Malzahar really could shut that down.
Yeah, Malzahar's really good against Rammus.
And they've got the disengage from Trundle and Janna. I think both teams knew what the other one vaguely wanted to do this game. And picked
the
into
Malzahar.
And then the Malzahar.
The
Malzahar.
I don't think Manalite expected this at all, but I'm not sure where they could have gone necessarily that would have been better than the Rammus as their final pick.
Something like the Echo again, but I feel it should have gone more aggressive.
The problem with that, though, is you've already got Lee Sin jungle, and yes, he can be a little bit tanky, but he struggles to get to those sort of uber tank levels, and then you've got the Alistar support.
But
who,
do you
again,
need a tank?
Into a Trundu.
I mean, like, there's no hard engage on choke. What do you really need that front line for? Your only job is to kill the Malzahar and the Lucian, and if you can do that, then you're going to win these team fights. Now, right now, the best thing Manalight can do is set up a flank engage. A Rammus engage is so obvious that a Malzahar is easily going to be able to counter it. Brixton already mentioned the amount of disengage available on choke, and it's the same for Alistar. You need that flank engage. So it's very much about deep vision coming out from Manalight, and that could be them trying to punish the fact that choke haven't been on point with their vision game so far.
Choke did have very good siege last game. It's the other thing with the Varus, and obviously Trundle pillars and stuff help. But this game they don't have as good siege, so they'll need to find another way to close out their advantage if they get ahead.
It's going to be difficult for them because Manalight, perhaps not a team used to being that far behind. They have been behind a little bit around the 15-20 minute mark in a few of their games this season, but being able to get back into the game and use the later game scaling team composition. And they've got quite an I was going to say quite a good late game skill team composition here, but when they get 2 items, they've got quite a good power spike on all of these.
I think both comps are actually quite good late game.
Yeah.
I think the Sivir will outscale the Lucian, given that the fact that her Ricochet can crit and do all that AoE damage is a little bit insane
one shot
at
all
the
the
moment.
spiders.
Yeah, exactly. She can do so much damage in the late game, and you have a nice composition to build around this backline of Manalight. But I honestly think Choke are going to play this game. We're going to farm. Again, they like passive laning phases from what I've seen. They want a passive laning phase around 20 minutes once they've got their 2 major items. Then they group up. Then they look for fights. But I think it's going to be Manalight being the over-aggressors once again, trying to force these before Choke can have an opportunity.
Can Nutri, though, keep up the kind of awareness of where Furion is that he did last game, though, right? Because I feel like Furion is the enabler. Rifty isn't necessarily going to be able to go in and start doing well in his own lane. Yeah. Same thing with Larson necessarily. I think he's just going to get shoved a lot. So Nutri really needs to be reading Furion's movements and countering those.
I think one of the biggest factors this game, which we haven't really touched on though, is sure, Malzahar against like a one-tank composition, one frontline that's going to go in and catch someone, is very strong, but they have 3. There's the Lee Sin to catching this, the Rammus, there's the Alistar. All they need is one of them to get onto him, an Alistar flash Q, a Lee Sin getting behind him, a Rammus flash taunt, and the Janna Zoko is going to have to be really on point
but
defending
you've got Trundle
him.
Pillar as well. I mean, Rammus you can Trundle Pillar in front of a Rammus, you can Trundle Pillar in front of a Lee Sin as well. Yeah. Janna disengage is really strong when you've got something like an Alistar on your team.
But they're going to have to be really on point.
Yeah, they have to be on point, but I think Choke showed they can be very on point in that last game. Like, they played the map really well, they worked well as a team, they had a lot of times they brought 4 or 5 men into a gank just to get 1 kill and then take an objective off it. I wouldn't be surprised if they play up to that level again.
The thing for me is, because I want to come back to Brixton's point, he makes a very valid point in the sense that Malzahar is pretty much a one-target champion. Yeah. If he fails to kill the tank, he is not going to do anything else in that team fight. Unless you get that crazy Reddit play where you drop your...
the pentakill Barons.
Unless you get some kind of lucky play like that, he's just not going to have the same sort of impact.
I think we all know it's going to be Nutri who steals the Baron.
Yeah, but the damage that he does can be surprising. People don't respect it, especially that silence on his Q. If you do not pay attention to that, you go for the engage and you can get very heavily punished for it.
That you can. Well, we'll have to see how it plays out in Game 3 here of the first semi-final, the ESL UK Spring Series Premiership.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Caster Desk. We're here for the 3rd game in our first semi-final between Manalight and Choke Gaming. Now Manalight are our favourites coming into this one, but Choke have proven that they are not going down without a fight. We're already onto the Rift and you can see that Choke Gaming are bringing out all the stops here with a Malzahar mid pick.
Yeah, a very interesting pickup, and I think the guys on the desk definitely brought out some valid points with the Malzahar. It is that point and click, single target DPS champion. It can shred tanks very early with that Leandri's Torment if that is the route that he chooses to go. And Rifty, he is going to be coming in quickly, but not quickly enough to take Luxie off guard. So if Luxie is going to target Rifty with his ultimate, then obviously it is one of the better champions for that. Now, I am just interested because we were talking about how much pressure's been put on this Azir pick and how early on it's been taking in the rotations.
Yep.
They've actually picked up the Sivir as well. Now, classically, Azir does very well in anti-siege and also these hard-engaged comps like the Sivir. So, you know, Sivir uses that ultimate, rushes in, and Azir can just block the rest of the team off. But I like Rifty playing something that I think he can have more impact on. I don't think the Echo was particularly impactful. And I think even though it's a losing matchup to go 1 versus Tolkien on this Trundle, I do think that Rifty will have experience in this matchup and will have slightly more of an impact because it was the champion that practically won the game versus the Renegades in their best of 1 earlier this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, this time there's no Kindred to find in mid lane.
Yeah.
We'll see whether Jokerism can avoid getting caught out on his own. But you're absolutely right that Rifty is a very proficient Rammus, and it was... He made that play that won them the game against the Renegades. So we'll see whether that's going to be an impact in this one. I wouldn't expect top lane really to be that action-packed throughout the laning phase. Trundle against Rammus isn't typically a matchup that you see going too explosive, but we are going to see standard lane setups here. So talk to me about Janna Lucian up against Sivir Alistar.
I mean, in the earlier game, obviously, it's so much easier to trade with the Lucian. Lucian Janna is one of the most oppressive lanes in terms of damage that they can put out. But realistically, I expect it to be more of a farm lane than anything. Janna will be disengaging from Alistar, should Alistar choose to go in. And as long as they can negate some of the, I guess, poke or trade damage that comes through, then it will be more of a farm lane more than anything. I think neither of these two are going to be looking to engage unless the jungler is there to help them out. So I think we'll just be waiting. They'll be just trying to get the farm behind themselves. You know, Hado knows he's not going to be able to get a really great engage onto either Lucian or Janna, and also Sivir, being one of the worst trading AD carries in the game, especially in the early portion, knows that she's never going to be able to out-trade the Lucian. So they're just going to be in more of a status quo here.
Yeah. So one thing I'm very curious about in this mid lane is how well Luxie is going to be able to keep up on CS here. Now, Malzahar is not the easiest champion to CS on. I'm a bit of a Malzahar fan myself. I've played it a lot, but if you get shoved under tower, your Malefic Visions can so easily ruin your CS. You can so easily miss those minions because it's ticking at the wrong time or whatever.
Yeah, definitely agree with you in that sense, Munch. But if you're not under your tower, I actually think he's one of the more easy champions to farm lanes with.
You just press E once and call it the void.
Exactly, and as long as you're making sure the minions aren't getting the last hits, you're just getting it to the right damage so that you can either proc it with your auto attacks or with Malefic Visions. He's one of the easiest champions in the game, I think, to CS with. But you're right, under tower, it does add a little bit more into the mix. Now, classically, when you farm a tower, you literally, especially as AP champions, you want to auto-attack a melee minion, you get 2 attacks to the turret, and then you get another auto-attack to get the melee minion. With the Malefic Visions, you can either make it harder or easier, depending on the timing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about how well you're going to be able to do it, and the real key thing is how much pressure you're under while you're trying to make that happen. But let's take a look. Across the board so far, we're actually seeing a pretty significant CS lead start to build up in this top lane. 25 CS to 15 in favor of Tolkien. Now, there is a pretty big minion wave for Rifty to try and get his hands on right now, and the defensive ball kill is actually going to grab him a couple just there. But if Tolkien can shove this under tower, then Rifty might have a bit of a hard time, and actually Tolkien going for a very aggressive trade here, and is going to be able to win that one. Actually, Rifty in a little bit of trouble. 2 more autos will finish it. Tolkien, you don't want to be taking that tower this early there.
I think Rifty was baiting him in because that defensive bull curl does give you a huge amount of resistances. So he was saying, come on, just flash, Raybit, bite me.
Come on, have a go if you think you're hard enough.
Yeah, exactly. When he wasn't going to fall for it. Tolkien, though, that is just Trundle in a nutshell right now. He was basically on sub 5th HP. Now he's all the way back up to 3/4 just because of how easy it is as a Trundle
I mean, the King's Tribute passive is just every single time an enemy minion dies, you gain a percentage of HP back, which is
based on that minion or that person's HP.
Yeah. So it's like if there's a whole minion wave to deal with, I mean, look, Tolkien is full HP again. That's 2 minion waves, and he's back up to full. He was on about 100, but Furion hovering around this top lane. Maybe he wants to try and make something happen, but when Rifty is so low, it's going to be very, very difficult to really manage to pull anything out of the back.
We saw this against Alfari in the top lane as well. Rifty actually got solo killed. He was very far behind on CS. He was getting forced out of lane consistently. Larson
taking a lot of damage in that mid lane. Good trade by Luxie. The Call of the Void makes it so difficult to trade back as well. That silence while the Malefic Visions is ticking away. It's incredibly difficult to deal with. Incredibly oppressive lane if the Malzahar can get ahead. And now Nether Grasp has been leveled. He's level 6, so Luxie, we could see like a flash all-in play come in.
Yeah, I know, and I think actually Larssen has to be incredibly careful here.
Have to wait and see. Luxie definitely looks like he wants to go for it, but Furion is hanging around nearby, so can't go anything too aggressive.
Tolkien.
Rifty's in trouble, though. If the Pillar of Filth can come up in time, Rifty might go down, but I think he's going to be able to get away underneath his tower, to be honest. Frozen Domain is going to come out, but we've got a fight in the jungle going on as well, I think, although everyone's going to back away. Rifty does survive, but his teleport is down, so he's going to lose a lot of CS here.
This is a really tough matchup for the Rammus. I mean, Trundle specifically is picked up to deal with champions like Rammus who have to build high values of resistances, because Trundle just relishes that situation, especially with that Subjugate. As soon as that Subjugate came down, by the way, you saw him just chunk out Rifty in the top lane. Rifty hasn't even picked up that many hasn't even really picked up that many resistances in terms of his items, but that defensive bull curl gives him a huge amount. So as soon as the defensive bull curl was activated, Tolkien said, okay,
it's
immediately.
basically like stealing Rammus' E to some extent. Yeah, so it's definitely a difficult one to try and play up against. Oko doing a good job to try and freeze those minions, but Smiley is easily going to be able to bully him away from that with a Boomerang Blade and force that minion wave underneath the tower in the bottom lane as he heads back to base. 10 CS lead actually for Zoko, but they are later on the base, so we'll see how much Jokerism can catch that up while he's back in lane on his own. But Luxie, despite what I said, is doing a decent job of CSing here. It's ever so slightly down, but it's nothing too crazy this early on. And Larssen just about out of mana as well. So actually Tolkien, for the first time in these trades up in the top lane, actually having to back away. Tremors is used by Rift.
Without Subjugate, you just lose all of that ability to trade with these tanks. And so, you know, as soon as that ultimate comes down from Rifty, and this is something that Rifty will do quite often, by the way, he will use his ultimate literally to just clear waves over and over again. Because it was on such a short cooldown, Tolkien knows that his Subjugate is available, and he's trying to bait Rifty in here.
Yeah, he certainly is. Rifty using that defensive ball kill just to try and CS at that point as well, just to try and make those minions kill themselves on his shell. But Rifty now pretty low on HP, isn't going to have his ultimate available, so could be in trouble, but Tolkien very low on mana, so I don't think he's going to be able to go too aggressive, and there's always the power ball just to roll away from the fight if you can get it off.
And that flash isn't available. You saw him previously, he flashed in front of Rifty as that power ball was charging.
Oh, Tolkien actually could be in trouble. The taunt isn't available though for Rifty, so just gets a nice little chunk of damage, and actually Tolkien not really doing that good of a job just to sustain up in this top lane. Rifty managing to bully him a little bit and managing to deny at least a couple of CS.
Yeah, and actually Furion now just doing his best to put down vision control. But again, look at Choke. They are thoroughly impressing me with their changes in terms of priority on vision. They've got good defensive vision for Nutri in his jungle. They've got good vision around that dragon area, and even started to apply vision to the blue side jungle of Manalite. And Manalite not able to have that aggressive impact in the enemy jungle that they did in the first game. So this is going to be a little bit more closely fought, I think. This is going to be a real tantalizing last series between these two teams.
Oh no, Nutri just accidentally stole the blue buff there. That's unfortunate. Last auto attack went in from Luxie a little bit too early. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Malzahar's passive does give him mana. Oh, sorry, no. His Malefic Visions, if it kills a target and jumps onto another one, you do get a bit of mana back. So on Malzahar, it's not really the end of the world, especially when he's gone Catalyst first item. So
the cooldown's always nice there.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Nether Grasp, it's like such a high impact ultimate. You want that off cooldown as fast as possible, but at least it's not like, you know, game breaking for the champion. So
Lee Sin, he is getting a little bit ahead in terms of farm, but he's not having the impact in the earlier stages of the game that he probably would have been hoping to have as a Lee Sin jungle. You know, when you play Lee Sin jungle, you need to have some form of impact on the game, because if you don't, and you don't get snowballing, then you genuinely, towards the end, become either a peel bot or an ulti bot. In that mid lane now, Furion heading over here, but I think Luxie has some sort of idea. They did have that ward around that dragon pit. They saw Furion move from his blue side jungle. He's going to take the very safe way all the way back round to lane.
Yeah, absolutely isn't. We'll be just about safe. Nutri, though, camping out up in this top lane. Rifty might just be in trouble in the next couple of minutes, but looks like Rifty maybe smells a rat here. Is going to go back into lane, though, through the river. So Tolkien, if he can start this fight onto that armadillo, they might be able to find something. Cocoon will be available for Nutri. In the meantime, though, there's a fight in the mid lane as well. Luxie going to be able to escape this one as Rifty gets under his tower up in the top lane. It looks like they're A-okay.
Larson is not taking any risks with this sort of flash Azir Q plays that he was trying to do last game. He's just trying to play as safe as physically possible. The interesting thing about a Malzahar is as long as you respect him in lane and you don't give him an inch, he won't take the mile. You know, he will still be just a Malzahar who is not that fed. He will just literally be there physically only to act as a singular target form of CC. You know, yes, when he gets to the late game, he'll be an issue, but you're hoping you beat the choke composition before you get to those later stages of the game. Oh, Sacco. I was going to say Sacco. It's not Sacco going in.
He's looking to write some articles all over the bottom lane of Manalite. Smiley actually getting chunked out pretty hard right there, but teleport going to come through from Rifty just to make sure Tolkien can't shove this wave underneath. Now, Tremor's actually going to be used as well, just to make sure that
it's literally such a low cooldown. He just spams it to clear the wave.
Yeah, and I mean rightly so. He's got that Balmy Cinder as well, so going to be able to just melt through those minion waves now every couple of... I mean, the cooldown on Tremors is already a third done. That's how quick it is.
Yeah.
You can do it almost every minion wave. I'd say maybe every second minion wave you can get away with doing it, but...
It's a very useful tool, and especially as Rammus, who realistically won't have the most effective split pushing in the game, it will allow him to push towers as well, because obviously Tremors does affect structures.
Yeah.
So he will be given the opportunity to apply pressure to the towers in the side lanes. Luxie, in the meantime, you know, it's very difficult for Larson to commit to a fight here, right? Because he knows that if he commits, he's just going to receive a Nether Grasp.
Yeah.
So at the moment, it's just seeing who can poke the other person more and then receive some help from the jungler.
Who can force who out of lane? I really want to see Luxie back pretty soon, because he can afford his Rod of Ages, and you need to get that stacking up, especially on a champion like Malzahar. You need to start to get those items, because the base damage on Nethergrass isn't really that high, because it's a massive kind of CC in itself as well. It can't, like, if the base damage was high, then everyone would just play Malzahar every game, you know. But it does scale incredibly well, and if you can get that Null Zone as well as your Malefic Visions while you've got the Nether Grasp on, people's health bars burn down so quickly. I'm curious, what do you think Luxie is going to go for in a build? Do you think we'll see the Liandries that you see out of Malzahar's occasionally?
I think if he's looking to get through things like the Rammus, then yeah, the Liandry's is a pretty solid pickup. I mean, it's just such an effective tool. It's like one of the only champions in the game, along with maybe even Brand, that you can go for these full tank Bernie builds with the sort of the Riot Eyes into the Liandry's. Furion just going to jump over the wall here.
Yeah, going to be able to get himself to safety. I wasn't sure if he was alright on that one, as Nutri was hot on his tail, but...
Honestly, I wouldn't be averse to seeing even an Abyssal Scepter come out or something like that. I honestly haven't seen that much Malzahar in competitive play, so his apart from that Rod of Ages, the build path is kind of open to interpretation.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, obviously, Luxie has been playing this. I'd be very surprised if this is just a I feel like playing Malzahar today, but... so far doing a decent job in the mid lane, just 10 CS down to Larson, but actually has got Larson pretty damn low on HP and is starting to get some pressure down onto this mid lane tower. He's going to take a tower shot for his trouble, but I don't think that's the end of the world, especially... Oh, Furion is here.
What's going on
kick
there?
comes out, and there's the first blood for Larson. Beautiful play made happen by Furion, and Nutri just has to try and escape, but I don't know if he's going to be able to get away with it. Actually goes back in with the Venomous Bite. Just getting a little bit of free damage there.
It looked kind of odd, but he definitely messed up some sort of combo there, but it worked out nonetheless. He basically was looking to flash kick him towards the turret, but just queued it up completely wrong. And honestly, no harm done. They end up coming away with the kill and the first blood to Larson nonetheless, which is going to help him no end, since he's just picked up... Is that his first back or second back, and he's just picked up Nash's Tooth and a needlessly large rod?
Yeah, that was second back, but huge power spike going to be coming in for Larson right there. Smiley actually wastes his spell shield in the bottom lane, but Furion going to be able to take away his red buff. I have to remember to cast from the live PC. I'm so used to doing the observing myself that
I always generally look at your PC because that's where it usually is live, but now we have to look at mine. It's such a big change up.
It's throwing me off. I keep talking about whatever's on my screen, but yeah, Jokerism going to be able to clear away these minions in the bottom lane, and actually a pretty significant CS deficit in multiple lanes right now. Manalite starting to pull ahead in gold, and actually nearly 2,000 gold ahead with just one kill on the board, and that's a lot due to 20 to 30 CS leads in the mid and bottom lane.
I really like this safer play from Manalite. They're relying on the fact that they're mechanically skilled and better at CSing, essentially. They've got more pressure in their normal lanes. They've got better pressure when it comes to just, farming up a storm, and they're going to try and rely on the sort of mid-game same power spikes to carry them through. I imagine, you know, once Azir picks up his next item, it'll be that Liandry's Rylai's Crystal Scepter, I imagine. And you get some items on Sivir. She can definitely afford the Essence Reaver now. She's got a fully stacked cull as well, so I imagine she'll be hitting some spikes pretty soon. And then they can look to try and affect the map, because as it stands, it's just that first blood and nothing else has happened. Vision control slowly working back into Manalight's favor as well, but I'm really impressed with Choke's ability to maintain vision, because it's something that we really criticized them for in the first game. And then the second and third game, they've really stepped up the game. And I think Nutri himself has been the real, I guess, driving force behind this, and he's going to take away those Razor Beaks. But, you know, Furion going to respond. He wants the enemy's Razor Beaks now too.
Yeah, I mean, the jungler being kind of in charge of the vision is what you would typically expect to be the case, that and the support, of course, but ever since Sightstone got nerfed a little bit, it does seem to fall a lot on the jungle to at least maintain vision control of the middle of the map, at least, around the player. But
we've got an ESL Prem fun fact here, as Nutri is the target.
Yeah, the fun fact right now is Nutri might be going down. Nethergrass comes out onto Larson, but it's not really enough. Luxie does flash away from the headbutt, though.
I feel like nerves are playing in here, because Haddo's flash there was kind of questionable too.
Oh, Zoko's in trouble, though. He's not got a lot of health to play with, and Rifty will finish him off with an auto attack. And they do finally pick up a kill, but they trade it for a tower up in this top lane. Tolkien is split pushing to his heart's content up there.
Yeah, Luxie has no ultimate now. He will be a target. They're going to try and push onto this mid lane. You've got the Azir for the siege, and that bot lane tower potentially going to go down.
Oh, here we go. Dive in the mid lane, though. Haddo going to be the one tanking up the tower. He's more than happy to with the Unbreakable Will. Rifty might go down, though. Nice flash.
Nice flash.
Will get him to safety. Haddo will walk away from that tower unscathed as well, and that is yet another kill going the way of Manalight.
Manalight just playing their game, just now getting deep vision in the red side jungle, looking for Jokerism, just misses the Sonic Wave. He does have that Dragon's Rage up in around 10 seconds too. Gonna have to back off this bot lane. Smiley himself also just farming up like crazy. He's got the Zeal and the Essence Reaver. I'm not sure if he's sold the cull yet. I can't work out if he has stacked it. The stats aren't coming up on my screen, but I imagine there's no monetary value on it, so he must have got all of the 100 stacks needed to sell that one off.
I think so. Either that or
just keeping it for the sustain potentially.
Cull counters on Spectator have never been overly successful, so I'm not 100% sure, but I think maybe just keeping it for the stats until you need to sell it.
Yeah, exactly. Until you absolutely need to sell it, there's literally no point. So you do get a minor amount of sustain and a minor piece of attack damage from the cull, so you might as well keep it in the inventory. Maybe that 3 attack damage will make all the difference.
Yeah, and as well, it's life on hit, which is like, you generally speaking, the more AD you have, the more you want lifesteal over life on hit, because obviously 3 life later on in the game is essentially nothing at the end of the day. But I say that, we've had a lot of people escaping on slivers of HP, so maybe that 3 life on hit might be the difference between a kill and a survival. But Smiley is going to be able to get some nice damage onto Jokerism. Haddo protecting his AD carry very well, but Jokerism is not done just yet. Now he turns onto the cow, but with On the Hunt, they are going to be able to escape from this skirmish.
Yeah, I think he needs to be careful now.
Luxie's in trouble, gets kicked once more. Furion is doing work right now, and that is a kill finally in his hands as Larson does all of the damage, but beautiful, beautiful pressure coming out from Furion.
I think Furion, the only times we've seen his Lee Sin, he's gone absolutely mental and carried the game single-handedly. Yeah. And I think they've finally cracked the code to dealing with Choke, in the sense that Luxie really is the target you should be focusing, and they are doing it over and over again. And on this Malzahar, he's 0-3, he's going to be starved of farm, and it's like one of those champions that you hate being behind on, because you just feel incredibly useless.
Yeah, you really, really do. It's what I was saying earlier, you're so reliant on those items that if you do fall behind, it's just so difficult to make anything stick. And look at this, Larson has gone for a second item QSS, so Nethergrass is just taken out of the equation completely, and now I mean, we were mentioning how Luxie might feel useless. Now he certainly does. Yeah,
and also if Sivir times her spell shield correctly, you can also potentially offset the timing of that Malzahar ultimate on the Sivir. So now you're basically forcing it to go into Lee Sin or Rammus, which ideally that's not what you'd want. Larson is going to keep himself incredibly safe as well. So yeah, this is a really nice itemization coming out from Larson. I really appreciate the early QSS here to deal with the Malzahar. It completely negates his ability to 1v1 him as well. So yeah, very well played by Larson.
Absolutely. Pretty significant CS lead starting to be built up in this top lane as well. Tolkien is doing a fantastic job up against Rifty. 30 CS for him. However, Rifty has that kill and assist. So actual gold-wise, the near enough even, ever so slight lead for Tolkien, but nothing really too significant. But across the board, generally, it is all about Manalite right now. They're 3,000 gold ahead of their opponents, and honestly, comparatively to what we're used to seeing from Manalite, it really doesn't feel like the lead is that big. We're used to seeing them at this point really going for that deep vision, really starting to layer on that pressure.
Given that they just lost to Choke, though, which actually, when you look at it, is literally their first loss in the ESL Premiership.
That's true.
They're probably taking this a little bit safer than they would do usually. They're just going to try and work their way very slowly towards this win. They want to make sure they secure it, you know. Hit those item spikes. Don't fight when the enemy is powerful. Fight when you are powerful. And Larson 201 as well picked up that Rhyolize. This is definitely a set of spikes that they want to try and utilize at this point in time.
Yeah, it certainly is. That Rhyolize can be such a massive, massive ability if you pick it up at the right time. But Tolkien and Rifty once again battling away. But Blue Buff going to be started off here. Larson will be able to take that one away. And actually, Rifty getting pretty damn low in this 1v1. He's going to have to try and back away from the skirmish until Subjugate is gone. But might find himself in a 1v2 at this rate. Nutri is there, but I think they're aware Furion was hanging around as well and don't want to go for that 2v2, especially when Furion is doing so well in this game. Oh, I say that, though. Actually, they're going back in this top lane. Rifty going to get caught by a pillar. The Cocoon is not going to be available, though, and they decide to back away once more. He's
got that Thorn Mail. You know, that's a really nice item to pick up against the Trundle, because even though if he steals your resistances, he's still going to have to auto-attack you for a pretty huge amount of damage. Furion now heading again towards that mid lane, trying to abuse Luxie, who's just picked up that Morella Nomicon at this point in time. But you can see here Larson staying well out of range, using those soldiers to do the work for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And Luxie going to be able to clear those waves pretty effectively on that Malzahar. The Flash Cocoon comes out of Nutri, though, and Furion is going to be the target. He will get melted down by the Malefic Visions, and now they go onto Larson. Shurima is going to be able to protect him, though, as he gets the Emperor's Divide and gets himself to safety.
Yeah, Nutri punishing again the very aggressive. Larson now the target of Tolkien, who's used the Subjugate. Here comes the teleport from Rifty.
Jokerism's in trouble in the bottom lane, though. A nice ultimate comes out as Larson desperately trying to get away. Smiley looking to finish off Zoko. In the meantime, we've got mid laner for mid laner as the top laners arrive. Zoko, though, desperately trying to escape. You got a lot of movement speed on Janna, and it might just be able to get him to safety, but unfortunately, he's on the wrong side of the map right now, and actually, so is Tolkien, but Tolkien looks like he's just abandoning Zoko right now. Gonna walk underneath tower. Actually, I think Barmy Cinder hit him.
Yeah, Barmy
It's gonna be a kill going over to Rifty in the end.
Barmy Cinder just doing the work here, and unfortunately Zoko dies to the tower. So yeah, this Rifty Rammus working out incredibly well so far, despite being in that losing matchup. And it's something similar to that we saw him play against the Renegades. He did get really far behind in lane, but just kept himself safe, didn't take any unnecessary risks. Died once to Alfari, but that was it. And then in the rest of the game, just came out like an absolute armadillo plow into the enemy team. You saw exactly what he was doing in the back line there. To Luxie, he did it every single time to Renegades as well.
Yeah.
So.
And now suddenly Rifty is able to go for these trades. He's got look how much armor he has.
Exactly.
Even if you steal 40% of it.
There's still
60% of a Thorn Mail and a Sunfire Cape and a Tabby is still a lot of armor. And Tolkien
has to deal damage to himself when he's attacking.
Exactly, yeah. You're going to be dealing so much damage to yourself during those trades.
Again, Furion hanging around this mid lane. He definitely wants to make sure that his mid laner is completely safe. Zoko now the target. Nice kick onto him. He doesn't go over the wall, though.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of follow-up, but here comes Larson and Haddo. They will be able to catch up eventually. I say that, Mikhails heals out Zoko. Furion has to commit so much to this. Nethergrasp is going to be there, but Haddo headbutts the Malzahar away, and Nutri will not be able to follow up on this one.
That's one of the issues as well. When you pick a Malzahar into the Alistar, he will just be able to basically headbutt you every time that you're going to try and use that ultimate.
Oh my goodness, Rifty has gone QSS, just immediately QSS the Subjugate right there. But Tolkien is in trouble in this 1v1, and Rifty is going to get Powerball up again shortly. But I think Tolkien maybe can get away with this one with the Pillar of Ice available as well. I don't think Rifty can quite catch up. Nice Cocoon will just...
He's still going for it. He doesn't mind.
I feel like this is maybe overkill, Rifty. Maybe he needs to back away from that one.
He's basically giving his team time to pressure that mid lane and just push that mid lane wave in as well. But yeah, Rifty takes that QSS, probably notably for the Malzahar, but can be used on the Subjugate as well, obviously.
Smiley spell shielded a little bit late there.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Good damage. Actually, incredibly low on that one, and Looks like the dive is going to be underway, but it's 2 kills going over the weight of Choke. Larson desperately trying to escape as Rifty tanks up the tower, but there's nowhere for him to go. Tolkien will get that pillar of ice up in just a second, but the Malefic Visions and an auto attack from Jokerism are more than enough to take down the Armadillo. There's only
Baron,
2
right?
members left for Manalite.
They're going to try and go for Baron straight away. They've got at least 20 seconds on Smiley and Haddo, and now they're going to try and force their way towards this Baron. Can it be the other way around? Can Furion make the play here?
Malzahar is amazing at dealing with Baron. He has percent damage, which is all you need to do a fast Baron. That Void Zone, or whatever it's called, is going to be able to just chunk down... Null Zone it's called, but they're going to be able to take this on. Furion is going to look for the steal if he can go for it, but he doesn't manage to get it. He can't do a Nutri and will end up going down. Zoko grabs the killing blow, and Choke are looking like they might be in the lead, still down in gold, but with that Baron, they can definitely turn things around.
It was just a really, really poor set of play around that tier 2 turret in the mid lane from Manlight. Smiley just took so much damage. As soon as Smiley was that low, they just said, okay, abort, we don't need to be here. And the culling finished him off, and they went for the dive, but Smiley was on like sub 10% HP. Absolutely no reason to do that, and Manlight unfortunately sealing their own fate when it came to that play in the Baron there. Furion attempting to make the execute steal, but Nutri ever solid in the smite. You know, Peds couldn't be more true when he was talking about it in the the little video that we had. He has been absolutely ridiculously good at hitting these smites.
Yeah, it's certainly very good at working out those numbers and getting it on point. But here we go. Middle lane tower is going to go down, and Choke even up the gold now. And the question is, where do they put on the pressure with this Baron buff? Do they continue in the mid lane, or do they look towards this bottom lane where they have a huge minion wave starting to build up for them? They can just go with a slow push if they really want to here. Nutri actually looking for Furion. He's going to be able to smite away the Razor Peak as well, and he's going aggressive for this one. It does actually get kicked to safety as well. Like, I think Furion wanted to kick him into the team, but didn't quite get the right angle.
The pings are coming out in the bot lane because of that wave that is there and available for them. Larson just doing a little bit of damage where he can. Luxie now on the sideline again. That spell shield not particularly effective there. He was trying to get inside that silence but didn't manage to make it work. Rifty able to now just clear these waves versus Tolkien. Uses that QSS.
Oh, but he's caught by a cocoon and actually could be in a lot of trouble. It's going to be Nutri coming on in to deal that damage. Red buff ticks away and does get the kill. Furion has arrived though, but does he have the damage to take out Tolkien? He is one tanky troll. The Pillar of Filth will come out. Furion nearly survives, but he will go down. It's a double kill for Nutri as Haddo and Larson look to clean this one up. Nutri cannot finish anyone else off. It's 2 kills for the Emperor, but it's a tier 2 tower down in this bottom lane.
Yeah, and that's a huge trade for Choke. They're going to get themselves a small gold lead here and a massive minion wave as well to deal with but it's short work of made by the Sivir. Manlight, they need to start shaping up here. They need to be a little bit more careful because at the moment Nutri is running rings around them. Furion had such an impact in that mid to early game, but now Nutri making the more sensible map-based decisions, and Furion just kind of fat-fingering some of these combos as well that we're seeing from him that he's so used to making over and over again.
Absolutely, and I mean, we'll see whether he can sort of... I mean, most of them haven't really mattered too much. Like, it's not been game-breaking for him up to this point, but the thing is, if you do mess up one of those combos, and it's at 35 minutes in the game, that is enough to just lose this series. Manalite right now, our first seed in the playoffs, are actually, even in gold right now, they're down at Baron, and might actually be looking at maybe getting knocked out of the semi-final. Choke are looking on point this game.
I mean, given this series, that would be... given this entire season, that would be absolutely ridiculous because no one gave Choke a chance in hell coming into this.
The first game they have lost in the entire Premiership was that last game, and now Choke, as I said before, even on gold, they're up in towers and they are definitely in the driver's seat. The big thing, though, is there's an Azir here for Manalite. There's a Rammus here for Manalite. They have some huge late game carries.
They do, and there's 3 QSSs also. So that is really just saying, okay, we are thoroughly afraid of what Luxie can do.
Banshee's Veil as well coming on for Furion. So.
Okay, yeah. So all of them are saying, okay, that Nether Grasp is going to have absolutely zero impact. It's going to have to go... I mean, Alistair doesn't even have to use it, right? Because he can just use his ultimate. So, they're just saying, we really don't want to deal with this Nether Grasp, but... It's not even the Nether Grasp that's really the issue at the moment. They're just getting so much damage put down onto them, A, by Jokerism, who again is having a standout performance, despite being 80 CS down, by the way, on this Lucian. And it's a lot of it is just the Malefic Visions, just doing ridiculous amounts of damage to the Manalite squad. So they just need to be a little bit more tactful when they're looking for their engagers. Again, that mid lane tower fight was devastating for them just because Smiley took so much damage.
One massive thing that we're kind of not including here, like if you take a look at the mid lane gold lead, it's about 1,500 in the lead of Larssen. But if you consider the fact that there are 3 QSSs that have been bought to counter Luxie, that is 4,200 gold.
Yeah,
so just by being in that mid lane, that's like a 3,000 gold lead.
I mean, you do get some stats out of it, but again, for Azir, he's not going to be able to turn that into anything useful. At least Smiley can turn it into the Mercurial Scimitar. And again, it's not going to turn into anything particularly useful for Rifty. So these, you would imagine, are temporary until they can either build a full lineup of items, but like you said, their item spikes are offset by how much gold they've had to spend on just literally trying to avoid the Nether Grasp.
Yeah,
and that's the issue with Malzahar. You QSS counters him, but also the fact you have to invest that much time and gold into farming a QSS. It's basically like a 4,000 gold lead to your team already.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. And so far, the Nether Grasp, we haven't really seen it be countered by any of these QSS. They've just been using it on Furion every fight, and it's been working out. Like, I mean, Furion was kind of the guy that was making things happen for Manalite earlier in this game, and since being shut down a couple of times, he's really seemed to have kind of taken a step back and decided not to be this aggressor that we're used to seeing him be.
And also, even though the siege is good from Manalite, the wave clear is amazing from that Malzahar. You know, he's one of the best wave clear champions in the game. You just stick Malefic Visions on one of the minions and slowly but surely they will all just disappear. Combine that with your Q.
Later on the game, and it's not even slowly that they disappear. Yeah.
Here comes the siege though now. The culling comes down onto Larssen. He takes a lot of damage from it, but they're going to return with the soldiers here. You've got to remember, if you use Arise on a turret, it does do a portion of magic damage. It is a pretty decent tool to try and take down those towers.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to see blue buff going on Luxie. Again, going on to Furion. The cocoon is chained, and Furion so close to going down. The ignite will finish him off in the backline. Nutri is going... Oh, no, he got the repel off at the last second. Smiley looking to finish him, but the heal comes out, and Smiley flashing to safety, but Jokerism finishes off the kill in the end. Hado now desperately trying to get away, but there's not really anywhere for him to run. Larssen should be able to protect him, though. Pillar of Filth comes down, and Tolkien isn't finished yet. Headbutt onto the Razor Chickens will pull him to safety, though. And in the end, again, Choke just pick up these advantages. 2 kills as Rifty is looking to solo push this tower.
Yeah, Rifty, he's got so much armor, he can literally face tank these towers, and using that Tremors just get them away very, very easily. He didn't actually... Oh, we had a little bit of lag in Spectator there, but he didn't actually teleport to that fight because he knew that it was pretty much over by that point. They were trying to go for the trade with Nutri, but that repel was absolutely fantastically timed. Smiley stayed around thinking he'd get a crit off, didn't crit, paid for it with his life. Jokerism flashed in and picked off the end kill there. And honestly, Jokerism has been incredibly impressive. You know, there was the joke about Jokerism at the last Premiership, because everyone called him Chokerism because he didn't play well on LAN. But he's been playing incredibly well this series. This is Hado getting caught in the meantime.
Yeah, absolutely. Does get knocked up, and Rifty going on in, but Hado is going to get caught by the Nethergrass. Does have to flash away, but Nutri finishes him off. Zoko traded straight back across though, and Luxie way too far forward. Jokerism caught by the taunt, and this is awesome for Manalite. Larssen flashing out of the fight. Now Furion is going to be the target. Nutri looking to try and get the Venomous Bite to finish off the Lee Sin, but he can't quite find him. Repels on and will finish the kill in the end, but is it too little too late? Tolkien just trying to get onto these carries, but he's been kited for days right now. He's desperately trying to escape. One more crit will do it. Larssen is going to be able to finish him off in the end. And Nutri, the last man remaining, just desperately trying to escape through the jungle as Manalite barrel down the mid lane.
And they're not even going to even attempt the Baron with Nutri alive. They don't want to take the risk of instantaneously losing the game. They're going to go straight for that inhibitor turret while Rifty stops Nutri from backing, which he can do over and over again. This should be free inhibitor for Manalite, and what a big swing at this point in time. Choke going from the picks that they've been making previously, overstepping as well, trying to blow everything on Furion. You know, that, like you said, he is the magnet now for that Nether Grasp. But Rifty was there this time. That's the key difference. Rifty was there, and now he's a huge tank. He does a lot of damage with all that armor as well. So,
and one thing that we've kind of not really touched on just yet is 7, 1, and 2 on Larssen. Larssen is coming into his own. He's got a death cap. He's got a Rylai's. He is starting to get... He's got Void Staff, I just noticed as well. He has magic penetration for days, and a Nazir in a team fight, when you have this many items, there's so much zone control and just ridiculous damage coming out. You cannot ignore that champion.
No, and they're going to get some good vision clearance around this Baron area as well. Manalite looking very strong. Like you said, big item spikes for the Azir. This is kind of why he's picked, just because he can single-handedly control the pace of team fights, especially when he gets to this late game too. I wouldn't say he's been any more impactful than potentially other mid laners could have been, given the same situation. I mean, you haven't really been seeing that Emperor's Divide used to the most ridiculous effect, but...
Nutri right now just flexing his biceps and stealing the Scuttle Crab. He's like,
he's just
you know
saying,
what,
go for that Baron.
You don't get any smites this game. You don't get anything.
It's a complete test, right? It's like, go for that Baron. I just outsmited you on the Rift Scuttler. Do you think you can outsmite me on the Baron?
Asserting his dominance, but... Nice little silence coming out from Luxie. Just trying to get whatever poke they can down right now. Just trying to make sure that if the team fight does occur, they're in a good position. Massive, massive minion wave pushing out in that top lane.
Rifty's going to go up there with Tremors, surely. Just clear it out and start pushing back towards Favor. Nutri now pushing down that mid lane. Vision's been fairly sparse now, but it's all kind of sat around that blue side jungle. Nutri very tanky as well on this Elise, so I think he's not much of a damage threat anymore, but definitely someone you need to keep an eye on for the CC he can provide. Meantime, Rifty, he is just going to push onto this top lane tier 2 turret.
Yeah, he certainly is, but we are going to see Tolkien just head back to base so he can go up towards that top lane and make sure that there isn't a threat of Rifty continuously split pushing. But here, this is a good situation for Choke because Tolkien has just base. He's going up to top lane. Baron is the big objective. So you have your top laner right near the objective that you want to contest.
They know they're not doing Baron, right? Because they've got the Rift Scuttler.
There's a huge minion wave pushing in the bottom lane for Choke now. So Rifty is going to have to go and answer for that. So if they can force the teleport out of Rifty now, and in fact, I say that Rifty is going to go for a teleport. They're looking for an engagement. Nutri gets a beautiful cocoon onto Smiley. He's distracting both of the carries right now, but Luxie has been found out all on his own. He's trying to do what he can, but he's not going to be able to survive this one. Nutri goes down as well. Tolkien on this front line trying to tank them up, but he's 1 versus 4 right now and will get dropped. Triple kill comes out for Smiley. Zoko has been taunted and Rifty is looking for blood. Hado comes in to steal the kill and will be able to get the supportal combat action. Jokerism the last man remaining, but with the Nexus towers bare, the inhibitor still down in this mid lane. They just have to wait for the supers. There's still 40 seconds on 4 members. Rifty's going for it. Jokerism goes down. They're tanking the Nexus towers. Larson arrives as well. This is the first Nexus tower going down. The supers are streaming into the base and there's 20 seconds until anyone respawns. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our first confirmed finalist. Manalite are going to be going through into our grand final and Choke are knocked out of the semis.
It was a Cinderella story for Choke, but instead of making it to the ball, she was kicked out on the side of the road, and Manalite make it to the final. I mean, that right there, Rifty, absolutely incredible on that Rammus once more. He's unassuming,